Today we have updates on Y2K, a new horror comedy from SNL's Kyle Mooney, an Alien Romulus sequel and show update, the Salem's Lot remake, and Terrifier 3. Now let's get into it. Hey everybody, I'm Killjoy Jake, and instead of having friends, I have horror movies. Our first update today regards Alien Romulus and the upcoming TV series Alien Earth. First off, the sequel talk for Romulus is already in the air, because the movie has made $100 million at the worldwide box office just this past weekend. Writer-director Fede Alvarez talked a bit about this recently to The Hollywood Reporter, but I should say before we get into this, there are a few spoilers regarding the film ahead. You might want to skip this section of the video if you haven't seen Romulus yet. Come on back after you've seen the film though. Talking to THR, Alvarez says, "Yes, I definitely can pitch a sequel right now. We tend to do that naturally, not even thinking about sequels. For us, movies have not become franchises, tentpoles, and sequels. This is a language that I've only learned in the last 10 years of my life working in Hollywood. For me, it's always been about the story." This is why Fede Alvarez is one of my favorite working directors right now. He understands the importance of a good story filled with provocative characters. There are some films I saw just this year that seem to have entirely different agendas, but I find this to be the most important base of any good film. A movie without a good story is like building a house in the sand. It simply won't stand. Alvarez goes on to say, "So once we finished, we started thinking, what do you think happens when or if they get to Yavaga? Is it going to be great, or is it a terrible place? We tend to believe it's probably a terrible place that they think is great and fantasize about. So we naturally started thinking about where it goes and what's going to happen. So we'll wait to see what people think and if people ask for it. My philosophy is that you should never make a sequel in 2 years. You've got to get away. You've got to get the audience to really want it. If you think about Alien and Aliens, there's 7 years between them. But we definitely have ideas about where it should go." Man, this might come off as weird, but I wish we could clone Fede so he could work on continuations to every long-standing horror series. The dude has a formula down that is so fresh, but can also pay homage to its predecessors. I just love everything he's saying here, and I really do hope we see a Romulus sequel. You know, maybe in 7 years. I'd love to see Rain and Andy again, but maybe another one-shot standalone is what Alien needs next. Either way, I'm here for it. We also got to see the first teaser in theaters before Alien Romulus for the TV series Alien Earth. It's just a xenomorph gazing down at Earth in the reflection of his shiny, wet skin. Ugh. Geez, it sounds like I'm describing something on the Orange and Black website, not so much an FX original. If you're looking to hug some more faces after Romulus, the wait won't be too long, as this series is likely arriving in 2025. From the teaser and title, you might be able to gather that this will technically be the first Alien property to tell a story about the Xenos on planet Earth. Yes, Alien vs. Predator kind of already did that, but technically the AVP movies are in their own universe where predators exist, and Charles Whalen is played by Lance Henriksen. Technically, Peter Whalen is the owner of the company in the main timeline. Some have theorized that these characters might be father and son, but that's getting me way too far off track here. Where Romulus takes place 20 years after Alien, while Ripley is still in cryosleep, Alien Earth takes place 30 years before that, making it yet another prequel alongside Prometheus and Alien Covenant. The series will deal with the emergence of the story's infamous Weyland-Yutani Corporation and the race between corporations to create new android life. I've heard a rumor that we'll see aliens running through the jungle chasing after people in this series, which has me very excited. Speaking of Alien vs. Predator, that sounds very similar to the latter franchise there. Some of those folks getting chased around the jungle include Sidney Chandler, Timothy Olyphant, and David Rysdale, alongside many more. We have to have a big cast of people to get chest bursted, I mean, come on now. Overall, the Alien franchise is poppin' right now, and I can't wait to see these new installments soon. I just want to know if Andy is okay more than anything. He did nothing wrong, the poor guy. Good news, everyone! We are finally getting the Stephen King-praised adaptation of Salem's Lot from director Gary Dauberman. Vanity Fair reports that this will go straight to streaming this October. While I'm sure this movie would have made money in the theaters, as many straight-to-streaming releases could have, I'm just glad we're finally getting it. Let's hope Zaslav doesn't change his mind and write this one off. Ugh. I shouldn't have even said that, man. Don't speak it into existence. Talking about his upcoming feature, Dauberman says, "You could do a very dry version of this movie, but that's just not my personality. It's trying to ride that wave's ups and downs. You're having fun with it, and then you could have a scare, and then you're having fun again. Hopefully it feels like a complete ride at the end." This description sounds very similar to his Conjuring spin-off sequel, Annabelle Comes Home, that I know is universally disliked, but I find it to be a hilarious guilty pleasure. It almost feels like the Evil Dead 2 of the Conjuring universe, unlocking that outlandish potential of the spirit room from the original. It's not exactly sublime filmmaking or anything, but that doesn't mean it's not entertaining. entertaining. I'm rooting for this film after nearly being canned by the studio. Dauberman has written a few movies that I really like, such as It 2017 and Annabelle Creation, the far superior Annabelle movie. This movie will likely feel the same, which is a far cry from the Tobe Hooper original. Personally, I don't mind his writing style, so I'm excited to see where this new adaptation decides to sink its teeth into. I have to admit, horror comedy doesn't always work for me, but there are some rare cases where I can vibe with it. While horror and comedy are similar ballparks in terms of structure, they often try to create clashing atmospheres that diffuse each other. Silly isn't scary and vice versa. There are a few films, however, that have found masterful ways to interweave those two tones to make something super unique. A few examples of my favorites are Shaun of the Dead, Cabin in the Woods, and This Is the End. Kyle Mooney's Y2K is clearly trying to strike something similar to that last film. It makes sense considering that Jonah Hill, one of the many stars of This Is the End, is producing this one. The trailer looks really fun, showcasing some of the typical awkward encounters of a high school party while also delving deep into the nostalgia of the late 90s. The aptly named film is about the last night of 1999, where two high school juniors crash a New Year's Eve party, only to find themselves fighting for their lives in this dial-up disaster comedy. The practical robot effects look fantastically schlocky, made by Weta Workshop, and the cast is pretty strong. Maybe not as strong as This Is the End that featured nearly every superstar from that time period, but Jaden Martell is always a phenomenal lead. Also, Fred Durst is in this movie. Need I say more? He did it all for the Nookie. I'm excited to see this one, dropping appropriately on December 6th of this year. Kyle Mooney is one of my favorite later cast members on SNL, so I hope this doesn't disappoint. Tonight, a new horror film premieres in theaters from the same folks that brought you Terrifier 2 and 3. It's called Stream, and it absolutely rocks. I got to see the movie early at the New York premiere a few weeks ago, and I was really impressed. Go see it tonight and then come back to check out this review. Spoilers ahead, you have been warned. Stream is a roller coaster of a slasher film that admittedly is a bit slow to get into, but once the players are introduced, this thing punches. Damien Leone did not hold back with his practical effects here, showcasing some disgusting deaths. The arcade sequence with Dave Sheridan was the moment that sent this film into overdrive. That eyeball looks nasty. Reminded me of some of the best murders from the Black Christmas remake. No, not the 2019 one. Players 2 and 3 were my favorite part of the whole film. The tic-tac-toe game they play on that one dude's stomach is personally my favorite unalive of 2024 so far. It's getting really annoying bouncing around that word here on YouTube. Terrifier 3 might have this one beat here in October, but T3 definitely has some competition alongside Stream and In a Violent Nature. It's really creative and basically made me fall in love with this film. The side characters and slashers make this movie. This one really delivered on being the Expendables of horror by showcasing so many wonderful actors and actresses throughout B-movie history. Some I even got to meet. While Daniel Roebuck, Tim Reed, and Felissa Rose all get to shine here in their little scenes, it's Jeffrey Combs that excels the most. My favorite role of his will always be Dr. Herbert West in Reanimator, I mean, come on. But Mr. Lockwood might be my number 2. He's as hilarious as he is evil, delivering some sinister dialogue while geeking out over the creativity of his slashers. It almost makes me sad that we won't see him in Stream 2. The main characters are a bit weak, but hammer the story down strong in Act 3. There was a point with that missing camera element that felt a bit predictable to me, but this film swiftly reminded me that nothing is as it seems. Sidney Malachi attacking the wrong person at the end was heartbreaking. The biggest shock of the film, without a doubt. And finally, the post-credits scene is just pure perfection for genre fans, making me crave a sequel. Tony Todd and Bill Moseley are teased to be even bigger players next time, alongside a surprise cameo that, I mean, nearly had me in tears. It's one of my favorite actors of all time, and I genuinely did not know this person was still physically acting. It warmed my horror-loving heart. I know some of you haven't seen the film yet and are still watching this right now, so if you want to know who it is, go buy a ticket. Like, right now, dude. Spoiling movies detracts from the experience. Seriously. Overall, Stream gets an 8 out of 10 for me and is currently sitting pretty in my top 10 for the year so far. It's a must-see horror flick of 2024 and should be supported. The blockbusters are going to make money, but it's the indie flicks like this that might get pushed aside if we don't support them during their theatrical run. Go see this one within the next 5 days and support indie horror. Bloody Disgusting recently gave us a peek at the upcoming Terrifier 3 poster, and it's a still from the film that we've already seen? Huh? I probably wouldn't dedicate a whole section of a video to just this peek if that's all I had to report, but isn't this just the photo we got a few weeks ago from the film, but likely with the Terrifier 3 logo pinned on? I think this poster is a lot cooler so far, if I'm being real. To be a little more optimistic here, considering we can only see a third of this poster so far, we might get a taste of what Art is doing with that box cutter that he likely has in this same scene. That would make this poster reveal worth all the melodrama. On top of this, and the full trailer dropping this month at some point, we also got a new tweet from writer-director Damien Leone showing off his confidence with this third entry. Grindhouse Ghoul, who posts some fire Terrifier 3 tweets, quotes Damien here reminding us that the first 10 minutes of this movie is going to be the most disturbing thing the team has ever done. Leone writes, "You be the judge." Confidence tells me Damien is proud of the movie, which likely means us gorehounds will enjoy this one. I can't wait to see what happens in those first 10 minutes. This will likely be the box cutter scene, right? Art looks way too clean here to be anything else besides the opening scene. In the last film, the dude was blood-soaked by Act 3. That makes sense considering some of the atrocities he committed in Act 2. The bedroom scene will never leave my mind. I can't wait to see Arthur Claus deck the halls with guts and bowels on October 11th in theaters. This might just be the crown jewel of 2024 horror movies. Before we wrap up today's video, I'd like to thank my wonderful channel members. I'm incredibly grateful for your support, and I couldn't make these goofy little videos without you all. Please consider supporting this channel by clicking on the Patreon link in the description below, or by pressing the join button on my page. Not only are you helping me feed my cats, you also gain access to my exclusive horror hot take series, where I talk over some of your favorite horror flicks. Art the Clown members even get to suggest which movies I cover. Check it out now by clicking on the link in the description below. Thank you all again for your support. Also check out my gaming channel GullGotha. I'm currently playing horror games over there and peeing my pants while doing so. These games might just be scarier than the movies. Go check that out by clicking on the link in the description of this video, or by looking it up in the YouTube search bar. What update from today's video had you the most excited? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you all again for watching, don't forget to subscribe, and as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.